Hey there, language learners and gamers. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Matt Boyle. I'm a language learning card game designer, and in today's video I'm going to explain to you how to play this game. It's called Heading into Language Land. I'm going to try to explain some of the details fairly comprehensively, but I also want to try to keep this video as short and as to the point as I can. If you want to learn more about it, you can visit languagecardgames.com, or there's more videos about it right here on this channel. There's a whole playlist for it where we dive into all the little different details about how to play and show you some live playthroughs. But basically, this is a game where you're going to get to choose a character, move around, discover different cards, speak about different topics in your target language, whatever that target language may be. And when you do that successfully, you gain points. You can take certain actions. We are using the virtual version of this game to play online every Saturday. You can see the schedule and sign up to join us at languagecardgames.com as well. So I like to play this game with the Lazy Susan. You don't need this Lazy Susan to play, but I find it's really fun and really useful because, especially when you're playing with multiple players, it helps to keep all the cards facing you. The cards that you have to deal with will always be facing the right direction to you. You could easily jerry-rig something or make something, like some board games have little spinner type boards. You could use something like that and just modify it a little bit to play with, but you don't need this. You can just play it on the tabletop. But I have one because I enjoy using it with this game, and I wanted to show you that today. So what you want to do is pick your character, and so I'm choosing to be Metamet. I actually designed him to look like me because that's something we can do too, is we can design your own character in this game if you want to. You can work with me to do that. But you choose your character card and choose the game pawn. Set your points to 3. Everybody starts with 3 points. If you're ever reduced down to 0, you lose. You're knocked out of the game. And you need a dice to roll to find out what topics you're going to need to speak about. This will be a 6-sided die here. So in this game, first you need to show where you want to go by flipping over that card. So if I'm sitting right here, which I am, and I want to go to there, I will flip over this card. And it's a place. I know it's a place because it says location right here under the name. So I want to enter this location. I need to roll a dice. Let's just say, to make things easy, that I got a 3. I don't want to roll the dice off camera or something crazy like that. Let's say I got a 3. Then I need to speak about some kind of an antique in my target language. Now you might be saying, oh, antique, wow, that's kind of difficult. I don't know if I can. This game has a variety of topics that range from very easy and very practical to very hard and almost impractical. All kinds of topics are in this game. There's over 100 different topics. Topics 2 and 3 tend to be more easy, and 4 and 5 tend to be more difficult, but it's not always that way. Some cards generally tend to be a little more difficult than others, and Wordhaven is one of those. But I should also mention that there's study guides. We have pre-built study guides that cover all the topics in the game for several languages. We have Spanish, Mandarin, Japanese, and right now Turkish is being worked on. So it's possible we could develop a study guide for your target language. So I would have to speak about a sort of an antique in my target language. And usually when we play online, we allow people to look stuff up or share answers or get some ideas from the teacher in the room. Anyways, I try my best to speak about an antique in my target language. When I do that successfully, then I can take an action. In this case, I can move into the location and I get to add a point. Now, the cards have special powers and rules right below the topics. You can totally ignore them if you want to keep the game simple, or you can read them and incorporate them if you want the game to be more complex in terms of strategy and in terms of what you can do. Wordhaven says if you enter here successfully, you can look up the definition or translation of a word. So this is a card that will help you look up stuff that you're going to need to say later in the game. If you see other cards popping up and you're like, whoa, I don't know that topic, I don't know that topic, this is a card that's going to let you, it gives you sort of like a free lookup. So if you're playing more competitively, Wordhaven could be a good place for you to go. I'm having a coffee here. So the locations, they always stay face up where they're discovered. So that's pretty easy to remember, right? as more and more locations are revealed as you're playing, it's going to start to create a unique map for that particular game. Different locations pop up. They always stay there. Players might decide to go to different locations because they want to activate the special rules of those locations to achieve their own goals or own purposes. Okay, but that would be the end of my turn. I speak successfully in my target language. I move into the location. I add a point to my score. Most often we play like maybe the first person to 10 points wins, or we have no limits really. We just keep playing and playing and learning and accumulating points, and we don't, the idea about accumulating points or finding out who's the winner, it's just sort of a gimmick. But really, as long as we're all learning and progressing, that's really the main goal. But that would be the end of my turn. Now on my next turn, I can go to any space that's next to my current location. So I could go to the left or I could go to the right. But remember, wherever I want to go, I symbolize where I want to go by flipping over that card. I don't roll a dice and move, as is the case in a lot of games. I'm just going to flip this over right away because that's where I want to go. Now I find it's an enemy. I know it's an enemy because his name is in an opposite color from my character's name. That's how we know who's our enemy in the game. If I encountered someone with the same color name as mine, then I would know it's an ally, and there's different types of actions associated with those different types of cards. You can choose to be any character you want in this game. It doesn't matter. You could choose to be quote-unquote the bad guy, the troll if you wanted to. I just happen to choose this guy. So they're enemies, opposite color names. So I have to take a specific type of action. I have to look at a specific group of topics, namely my own. If you ever encounter another player in this game and you have to fight them and battle them, or if you encounter an enemy character on the board, you're going to refer to topics on your own team cards to activate your own powers in order to fight them and destroy them. So I would roll a dice. Let's say I got a 3 again. I look at my card. The topic is a travel item, so something you would take with you when you travel to other countries or other cities. So maybe like a suitcase, toothbrush, earplugs, I don't know, whatever. So I speak about that in my target language successfully, and that would allow me to defeat this enemy on the board. What happens is he would slide under the deck. I've got the full deck of cards under here. Slide him back under, replace with a new card, which we don't know, and then I can move successfully to this spot and gain a point. So that's really one of the cool features of the game, which is the board. It's constantly replenishing and rejuvenating with fresh cards, and you don't know what's there. So you're constantly going to be in a process of moving around and discovering what's out there in this world of Language Land. That's something I really love. So the characters which are not unique, which have multiple copies, even though you defeat them, they may still be coming back out of the woods to battle you, so to speak. So the game is, in a way, you could play it so that you never truly finish. You just play as long as you want to. You could set a way to win. You could set an objective, but you don't really have to. So this game is really flexible, really adaptable. You can play it in many different ways with many different types of objectives. You could do it by how many enemies you defeat. You could do it by how many allies you win over. You could say, if I reach to a certain location, then I win. You could say, if I get a certain number of points, I win. Or some combination of those objectives all together could be the goal. So like you have to defeat a certain number of enemies and have accumulated a certain number of points, for example. And that will lead people to want to move to different areas of the table to achieve their different sorts of goals and objectives. Now let's say there was another player here, and on my next turn I want to battle them. Then, here's what I would do. I move directly there, and I roll a dice and look at my character's topics to attack them. They roll a dice, look at their character's topics to attack me. And if we both are able to speak successfully about the topic, then we go to a roll-off to determine the winner. We have to do sort of like a tiebreaker roll. And the winner stays on the space, gains a point. The loser has to go back to their side of the board, sort of like going back to the start, so to speak. It's just, we kind of take them off the board and they have to come back in on their next turn. And they lose a point. They lose a life point. So again, you start with 3 points. If you can't think of anything to say, or if you speak really poorly, you may lose a point. And if you get down to 0, then you're kicked out of the game. You die, quote unquote. On the other hand, if you accumulate points higher and higher, you might get to a certain point where you win the game if you want to play by points, something like that. But that's basically how you play. Again, there's over 100 different topics in the game. You will encounter some weapons, special pickups, allies, enemies, special places. I can show you a few of those really quick actually before you go. There's like an insect, there's another special location, there's a sword, there's a word wraith, an enemy. He's kind of like a ghost type character. There's a swamp. So as you can see, there's a lot of different types of cards and topics in the game. This game, it's much more than a game. We have all sorts of resources associated with it to share with you, and we're also making friends across the world by playing it online. So I highly recommend it to you. This is one of the greatest passion projects I ever came out with in my life. It took me about 3 years of working in my spare time to bring this to fruition, and now I'm happy to say I am working on the second edition of the game with all new topics and characters and places. But it's it's slow going. I have a lot of artwork to collect, and I also have 2 little kids at home, which they keep me really busy and really sleep deprived at nights. But I've got a playlist for the game development of that game on my YouTube channel as well. So the name of the game, Heading into Language Land. If you want to try it in real life, you can come out and play with us online. We're playing every Saturday, different language every Saturday. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you back here next time. Bye-bye for now.